So today we're going to be going through the tests for progressing the game screen. So the first test is, once a player finishes their turn, does the game progress on? So what should be expected is that when a player finishes their turn, the game should progress to the next player's turn who is not folded clockwise. And that player should only be able to see what they are supposed to see and not other players' cards. Anything like that. So here we can see the big blind's 4 and small blind's 2. So I'm just going to bet 4 straight away and move on to the next player. So what should happen here is it will go to the player 1 here, and we'll be able to see their cards and none of the other cards on the table. As we can see, that's successful. We can no longer see player 5's cards, and we can see player 2's cards. So that is a pass. Test 2 is, do all the buttons work with the changing game? So change from player to player. The button should follow the test 10 to 16 in the original game screen. So I'm just going to go through these tests on the test we've got here. So we've got the betting slider functionality. So that's just going up and down. It continues to work. If you want a more in detail look at these tests, see this video. We can see that it is going up and down though, so that is successful. The betting slide output and display. So when I'm moving my mouse up and down this, we can see that this number here is changing in correspondence to the location of the grey dot on the slider. So we can see that that is a pass. Bet submission button functionality. So when I want to place a bet, I press this button here that's highlighted, and it should move on to the next turn. We can see it has moved on to the next turn. We have a computer player playing with us right now. The AI is playing with us, so it just moves straight past them and goes to the next player. So the next test is to check button functionality, the check button functionality. So I should only be able to check when my check is equal to or greater than the maximum bet on the board. If I have less than the maximum bet on the board, it shouldn't accept the check. So as you see here, when I click the check, it is not accepted because the maximum bet on the board is 4, and at the moment I have bet 2 with this player. So I will see the 4, and then I can run through what the check looks like afterwards. So here we go, the check moves to the next player's turn and successfully covers up the cards of the previous player. So that is a pass. The next test is the fold button functionality. So what should happen here is just if the player clicks this button, they'll be considered folded for this hand, and for any more bets in this hand, they will not be considered, but their previous bets will stay in the pot. So here we can see the AI is just taking a bit of time to think what it wants to do. But once the AI is finished, it should fold this player and then increment the turn all the way over to player 3, as we can see there. And then if we come back around to this player, it will not do them, and it will go from player 5 to player 2. As we can see, its AI is now thinking what they're going to do. It skip this player right away. And now it's at 2. So the next test is to actually see if the mouse is over a button that is clickable, it reacts. So when I'm hovering over these clickable buttons, you can see they're highlighting grey. That is correct in the test in the past. Test 16 is check to see if the mouse is over a button that is not clickable, it won't react. So what should happen is if I hover over any of the labels with numbers on, they will not highlight grey. So as you can see now, none of these are highlighting grey. And if I was to click them, nothing would happen. So we'll go back to the tests. And we can see that all the buttons work once the player's turn has been incremented. So that test is a pass. Test 3 is that the correct cards can be seen for whose turn it is. So the player can see their cards and the back of the opponent cards and any shared cards that they should be able to see. So at the moment we can see that player 3 can see their cards, none of the other players' cards, they can only see the back of their cards, which is the red design with the white outline. And for the shared cards they can see the flop and not the other two, turn and river. So that is exactly what should happen, and that test is a pass. Test 4 is the round ends at the correct time. So round end if all players on the same bet for this betting round, except for any players that have folded. The betting round should continue otherwise. I'm just checking to see if there's any other tests that we need to do in this bit. There isn't, so we'll go ahead and do that one. So if I go bed 2 for this one, 2 for this one, and 2 for this one. So here if we run through and make it go to the next turn, the turn should be dealt and the bets for this round should end. So here we can see the turn is dealt and all the bets for this round has been set back to 0. The AI here has betted 2 straight away, so it looks like they haven't been reset, but they have because they are the first player to go after this, and we can see it is actually player 3's turn, so it shows that they have already played their turn. So we can see that the betting round ends at the correct time, so that is a pass. Test 5 is once the first betting round finishes, then the flop should be dealt for all players to see. So if we go round and start a new hand, so we can see we've got a brand new hand here. If we go round and place a few bets, so I'll see the big blind here on all of them. So once I've played this, I should see the 3 flop cards here, and every player when I go round them should be able to see them. So here we can see the 3 flop cards are here, and if I check, we can see that player 4 can see them as well, player 5 can see them, and player 1 can see them. So that test is a pass. The next test is once the second betting round is complete, then the turn will be dealt, and just like the flop, this should be able to be seen by all the players when you go through them all. So I'll just bet 2 with player 4 and player 5, and the turn should be dealt here, the 4th card, and we'll run through all the players to see if they can see them. So we can see the turn's been dealt. It's now player 3's turn, and they can see all the shared cards that they should be able to see. If we go through all the players, here they can still see all the shared cards, and the one that's still got the backup, which is the river. Player 5 can still see all the shared cards, and player 1 can still see all the shared cards. So that test is a pass. So once the third betting round is complete, then the river should be dealt. One additional card should be seen at the end, and that is the river. Seen by all players throughout the river. So we can see the AI has just raised me here, so I'm going to have to see them in order to progress to the river. So if I bet 2 here, this final card will show, and all players will be able to see 5 shared cards. Here we can see that the 5th shared card is shown, the 6 of diamonds, and all players can see it as I run through them. There you go. So that test is successful. Test 8 is the final betting round and determining the winner. So if I go through to the final betting round, which this is, if I end this betting round, it will determine who the correct winner is from the hands and give them the pot. So to help with this, I've printed out their hands here. So this is the strength of their hands. The higher the number, the stronger the hand they have. So at the moment you can see that player 2 has the strongest hand with 114. So when we finish this betting round, we should see that the chips in the pot go to this player, or the computer player decides to raise. So now we should see that the pot goes to player 2. As we can see, their chip count is now at 48, so their chip count's increased by the amount that the pot had last round, and they were the winning player in determines the strength of the hands that we printed out here. So we know that test is successful.